From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up!
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by
Vitamin Energy.
The vitamins.
The energy.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Down here on the farm.
Wake up! It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. Coming up on today's show, Curt Cignetti and Indiana reset the market in a monstrous way. Don't bring that noise about outside noise to Corey Clark's doorstep. Also, over-unders and a deep dive look at Stanford. Wake Up Warchant presented by Vitamin Energy. VitaminEnergy.com. Promo code warchantbogo. Enter that in. Buy one, get one free. It's that simple. You'll have 24 bottles if you just order one box of Vitamin Energy. It's incredible, the promo code. It's still out there, everybody. It's called warchantbogo. Use it. Buy one, get one free. This stuff clinically tested, clinically proven, award-winning, patent pending, and no sugar crash. Vitamins, nutrients, nourish the body. The caffeine gives you all the energy you need to make it through your day. It's all in one little bottle you can take with you anywhere. Take it with you out there, Noles, that are making the trip all the way out to the left coast for Florida State taking on Stanford. VitaminEnergy.com. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. I want you to thumbs up, please, everybody. Rate, review, subscribe, share. Share the gospel. Let them know about this show that we hang out every single day. But actually, I shouldn't say it because maybe next week we might take a day or two off, Corey, because it's a bye week if you don't object. He calls the shots around here, everybody. It's Corey Clark. What's up, Corey?
What's up, buddy? How are you doing?
I'm all right. I don't. For some reason, I was saying this before we started recording. It feels like my voice sounds off, it feels like, or maybe it's just the acoustics in this room. But I'm fine. I feel great. It's the Friday program. We got some over-unders. We've got the interview with Troy Clardy from Stanford. We're going to get to the rest of these Renegade Express questions. I feel good. The weekend's on the horizon. We're going to do our watch-along throughout the Stanford game starting at 10:30, everybody. So Corey and I will be taking over third-quarter duties. You know, right when the game is somewhat in the balance, then the Noles deliver the kill shot with like a 75-yard touchdown to go up 3 scores.
There we go. That's nice.
There we go. So if it doesn't work out in Stanford, Curt Cignetti will not be coming to Tallahassee, apparently, Corey.
Correct.
I know that's not Wake Up Hoosiers, but, man, that's – I guess this is just the economics and the silliness of this sport and this industry because I get it. You can't afford to lose him if you're Indiana, but can you afford like almost $100 million if it doesn't go right? 8 years, $11.6 million contract. I imagine everybody who's a Hoosier fan is excited because they don't want to lose this guy, but I imagine everybody else around the country, even if you're Penn State or Florida, whoever's in the market for another coach urgently, I don't know if you're like totally crushed about this, would you?
I don't know. Maybe Penn State fans are. I think they still got Matt Rule. Again, I'm going to come back to the whole, you need players more than you need a great head coach. Now, the great head coach can foster those players and get them to you. So that makes it, I understand why Penn State fans might be bummed, but it's like, man, Indiana, these presidents are just never going to learn. They're never going to learn. Even with the Big Ten in the midst of perhaps getting a capital investment fund of like $2 billion outside capital. I think Indiana, if it's 8 years at 11.6, that's like $93 million they've just committed to Curt Cignetti, who, while has been great since he's been there, has been there for 18 games. And they just committed $100 million to him. And, if you're wondering, if they fire him or if he leaves on his own, he owes them 15. So, again, these presidents and ADs just continue to just do dumb stuff. But not just paying him 11.6. The Indiana head coach making that kind of money seems outrageous to me because you're worried about him going to Penn State. But what do I know? Maybe he's going to maybe they're going to be a 5-time national championship winner through the course of his contract. That just seems like a stupid money. But we'll see. I mean, he was making $8 million already, I think.
Yeah.
So it's only $3 million more per year. Just locking yourself up for another $92 million that you're going to owe that guy if he goes 4-8 2 years in a row. Which it is Indiana. They do have a history of doing that, even with the great Curt Cignetti. And only say this from the prism of where we are, Aslan. I feel like I have a pretty good perspective on giving a guy a big money contract with a huge extension to keep him away from another school. And we'll see. We'll see where Penn State goes next. If Florida State has to make a change at the end of the year, and that's a big if at the moment, Curt Cignetti is not available.
Does that at all change the way you think about the dollars and cents of this sport? Like, is that the going rate then? Like, if Florida State were to find themselves in a position where they need to replace leadership for their football program, is it, if you're not paying that kind of money, you're not playing this thing right, you're not taking this sport seriously?
Man, no. I think as long as the parameters are not really in place as far as this pay structure, when it comes to how many coaches you can have, what you can pay a GM, what you can pay players. There's no salary cap yet. Again, I know there's one that's kind of in quotes, but I don't know how many people are following that. No, I don't think. I think the days of paying guys $10 or $12 million, it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. Curt Cignetti's getting paid about what Kirby gets paid and what Dabo gets paid. Well, those guys have multiple national championships. This guy's in the middle of his second season. And while it would be a really interesting story if Indiana wins a national championship, I think those guys are getting paid for what they've already done. You want to keep them, but they're getting paid for what they've already done. Curt Cignetti's, done great at Indiana. Again, I'm giving him all his flowers, but if you're not going to be a national championship contender every year, you're going to pay $12 million at a place like Indiana, $11.3 million for your head football coach. But again, he might not ever lose again.
He might not.
It just seems like pretty aggressive overspending in the moment. But what do I know? It keeps him in Indiana, which I guess is and not at Penn State, which I guess is the most important thing. Oh. But when it comes to Florida State, if you were to make a change, man, I'm more and more along the lines of Ira. Like I guess because there's no guarantees, and that's the thing. Florida State could go over the top of Indiana and offer Curt $13 million a year. Is there a guarantee he's going to win at Florida State? Like winning at James Madison and winning at the Big Ten in Indiana aren't at all. They aren't automatics that you're going to win at Florida State, and that's what's so problematic about any of these hires is there are no guarantees. There are no guarantees.
I don't know, brother. If he can walk into Altson Stadium and beat them, I think he'll be okay walking into Scott Stadium or playing Pitt at home,
Yeah, granted, but it's year 2. We'll see what it looks like in year 4 or year 5. There's been a lot of flash in the pans. And, again, I'm not diminishing what he's done. It is truly legitimately remarkable. Not just that they won that game, but how they looked doing it. Yeah. Like, that's crazy how much faster and more physical and better they were than Oregon. At Oregon. It's just nuts. But we're in October of his second year. What are we going to look like in November 3 years from now? And the point being, again, winning
you're paying
in Indiana,
him to win you national title too, right? Like this is national title winning coach money. So,
but I also think in the right situation, I think he's proven that he could be a national championship head coach. There's just no guarantee that if he came to Florida State, it would be the right, I don't know, man, cultural fit. However you want to phrase it. Like sometimes really good coaches don't win at places. Like I think Jimbo Fisher is a good coach, and for the last 7 years of his tenure, he had a hard time winning at 2 different places. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. And, so again, if you could tell me you go pay Curt Cignetti $13 million and you are absolutely guaranteed of making the playoff 75% of the time and winning 2 national championships over the next 8 years, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Well, that is not even a conversation. Yeah. There is nobody out there like that, aside from Nick Saban. There is nobody out there that if they come to your school, you are going to be a championship contender consistently. He's the only one that's proven he can do it. He does it everywhere. And I should say everywhere. He did do it at LSU and Alabama. It's not like he took Rice to the championship. But if you can win at LSU and Alabama, you can win at Florida State. He is a guarantee, and he is not a coach anymore. None of these other guys, save for I think Kirby would do all right. I don't think any of these other guys are. Is Ryan Day, you think he'd just come to Florida State and automatically get you to 12-2?
Yeah, I don't think so. No.
So it's a hard way to gauge this stuff, man. It's a hard way to, we don't talk about NFL teams like that. Like, man, if the Falcons could just get Andy Reid, man, they're going to win it. They're going to win it. He's a championship coach. He's won 3 Super Bowls. Or if they could get, what's his name, from the Eagles. That guy's just going to win you Super Bowls. It's more about the players. Give me Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey in his prime and Chris Jones and Tyreek Hill in his prime. Yeah, that's a core that can win. It's just so it's remarkable how much different the pay structure is in that league when they're so similar. I mean, the college football is the NFL minor leagues. It's NFL light, but it still has not taken on the structure of the NFL where you pay for the players and not the coach. The coaches are deemed expendable.
Well, the Buccaneers did win their first Super Bowl by trading for John Gruden, but that was Al Davis, and
then they fired him, right?
Well, yeah, but you got your Super
Yeah, no,
Bowl
I'm
then.
saying, but they fired him, and then I think Bruce Arians retire or get fired?
A little bit of both, a little column A, a little column B, but I think he went out on his own accord.
But I
because he
mean,
won
nobody
another one.
thinks like, man, let's get Bruce Arians.
Right.
He's going to win you a Super Bowl. It's like, man, he had Tom Brady. It was COVID. It was a fun season. I get it, but come on, man. Yeah. Like, it's not really like that in the NFL. But, people think they look at this guy at that place, and it's like, well, if we got him, he would be awesome here. And it just doesn't always work like that. It certainly doesn't work like that when you talk about the lower-level schools, right? Like, that is an automatic, just straight-up coin flip. Not even a coin flip. It feels like it works out 33% of the time. Where a school will take a guy from a lower level who did well at a lower level, like, say, Norvell at Memphis, or the guy at South Florida, Willie Taggart at South Florida, and assume he's just going to be able to produce at a higher level, recruiting against different kinds of schools. And it just, it doesn't work out. I think in this certain coaching market, if he's even available, which I don't even know if he is, Lane Kiffin, to me, is the most likely to be a guarantee of success. Don't know if he'd win a championship. But if you can win at Ole Miss the way he's won at Ole Miss, and he seems to he's fun in press conference, but he also seems to have his life kind of in order and is more of an adult and a grown-up. I think he is about as sure a thing as out there right now. He might be the only one that is a sure thing, I think.
Maybe I'll spend this weekend going back to the archives and trying to find that time I mentioned him in 2018 and I was laughed at. But probably not. I got other things to do that are more important.
Hey, man, has he ever gone 13-0?
He has not.
Just throwing that out there. Just throwing that out there.
You mentioned this about 9 minutes ago when we started the show, but our guy Jimbo11 in the mailbag was asking, with the millions spent on the new football all-purpose building, which, by the way, I guess there's a phased plan to move in beginning after the bye week, although Mike didn't give us a lot of clarity on that. He was asked about it on Wednesday.
Wouldn't it be during the bye week?
Perhaps, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
All right. I know they moved some of the mementos over there already.
Nice.
Some championship trophies and Heismans and whatnot.
Sweet. Does Florida State still have enough money if they were needing to buy out their coach's contract and then hire a new coach that will demand another outrageous contract? Where is all this money going to be coming from that could otherwise be going to our NIL?
Yeah, and it's a fair point. I mean, it is not an infinite amount of money. There is a faucet that will run out, and it's why it's really pivotal, man. Like, you need to win this game. You need to win some games this season. It would be – I know people don't want to hear this. It would be so much better for Florida State in the short term for Mike Norvell to succeed this year. In whatever your level – I know some people think, well, he can't succeed. He's already lost 3 times. Well – when you're coming off 2-10, if you can get yourself to 8-4, I know that's not the standard here. I get it, but you can put yourself on solid footing again, and then see what happens. Because yes, if you do, and I had somebody email me this, like, what sense does it make? And this is a fair point. This is the other side of the argument. What sense would it make to fire Mike Norvell and owe him $50 million, and then go get a carbon copy of Mike Norvell from like South Florida? That is not a guarantee, and pay him money. So you're paying a guy that's basically proven he can win at your school. He's also proven he can lose big. To go get an unproven coach, pay him a lot of money, and then also pay Mike Norvell not to coach. Like, what is the point of going and getting Norvell 2.0 from another AAC school to hope that he can win at Florida State? You do have a guy in place that has proven he can win at Florida State. But, he's also proven he can lose enormously. And so you can't just say, well, you can't just be Florida. You can't, as Florida State, just say, like, well, what are we going to do? We owe money. We want him to be here because we can't afford to fire him. You might get to a point, especially this Sunday morning, where you can't afford not to, because the interest in the money to support this program in any meaningful way will dry up. Because, again, and the thought is, if you lose to Stanford, you're going to lose a lot more. You're staring dead straight at a 5-7, 4-8 type season if you can lose at Stanford. And then you've got nothing to sell. You've got no energy within the program. It's going to be really hard to get players, no matter how much you want to spend on them. Well, not no matter how much, but if you're going to be, within the realm of reason, it's going to be hard to get players. So yeah, you would be, you'd be stuck if you came back with Norvell if he has another disappointing, catastrophic season. But it might not be catastrophic, man.
Yeah,
but don't you think, Aslan, it's so much better in the short term. Maybe the long term, too. Maybe Norvell's learned some lessons. But it's so much better in the short term if he can right this ship and you do not have to pay him that kind of money to go away.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that people are hitting a point, though, where they're auditing everything. And it's like, all right, man, we've lost to an FCS team. We've lost to Duke. We've had losing seasons. We've had multiple losing streaks. I am fine rolling the dice and trying somebody else out because I think no matter what, they're not going to ever go 2-10. They're not going to lose to an FCS. Things that
I just wouldn't do it for South Florida, man.
I'm not advocating for Alex Golesh, but you're probably looking at Kirk Signetti, right? You're like, listen, Indiana made the right hire. We can make the right hire. Maybe this next guy, XYZ, is that. I get it. We can delude ourselves into anything. Listen, we just listen. If Jimbo came back, everybody would love Jimbo again. Even everyone that says they hate Jimbo, I think you would. Up until kickoff of the first game, and then after they only put up 195 yards of offense, you would love Jimbo. So that's what I'm trying to kind of convey to you a little bit.
I think, yes, for sure. But again, it does become a financial decision because it's not just the $50 million you owe Norvell, it's the coaching staff you owe. I don't know what Malzahn's buyout is. I don't know what Tony White's buyout is, but it's millions.
You're paying $50 to get rid of the head coach. You're probably all right paying $8 to get rid of the others, Well,
yeah, but it's more than that. I don't think it's $8. I think you're looking at probably $20. So now you're talking about spending $8. You're spending about $68 or $70 million to bring in to just get rid of a coaching staff, and then you do realize you have to pay the next one. So now you're talking about investing over $100 million, likely or close to it, in your coaching. That's why it's really pivotal and important for him not to lose this game. Because I do think that's how pivotal this game is. Because as I say all that, granted it's a ton of money. It's not my money. You can always defer it. They defer to the hilt anyway. So just keep deferring money. Pay it off over 25 years like you won the lottery or something. Maybe he'll do like a 30-year fixed rate.
Give him a Bonilla thing?
Yeah. Pay them all over 30 years. So it's Mike Norvell Day, everyone. He'll be celebrating in 2044. Yeah. Mike Norvell gets his $1 million this year today. So there's ways to go around it. It's not like you're paying a lump sum of $50 million, but still it's a lot of money. Or $70 million. It's a lot of money that even if it's spread out. But, and I guess I would say it like this. If he goes 8-4, I think he keeps his job. If he goes 7-5, it's iffy. 6-6 or worse, I think you're probably moving on. But at the same time, I'm like, well, man, unless you're giving me a guarantee, I go back to I don't want to hire out of the AAC. I'd almost rather hire an assistant from Ohio State or Georgia than a AAC head coach. You've done it 2 times in a row now. Essentially, that's what Willie was because he had 1 year at Oregon in between, and he went 7-6. He also had Justin Herbert, and he went 7-6. Every game he didn't play, they got destroyed. So you hired Willie for what he did at South Florida. You hired Mike Norvell for what he did at Memphis. That should tell you. Florida hired Billy Napier for what he did at Louisiana. They hired McElwain for what he did at Colorado State. When you hire these coaches from these smaller schools, it's just not a guarantee. And some of them aren't ready for it. Some of them can't do it. I want a guy, if I'm going to fire this guy and pay him that kind of money, I want a guy that has proven he can do it. Now, people might be screaming at their podcast right now, their phone or their iPad or their laptop or their car stereo, and being like, well, Jimbo Fisher is that guy. Sure, but remember, Jimbo was great 10 years ago. He wasn't great anytime recently. And again, what would intrigue me about Jimbo, he's out there, and I think he'd be cheap. And also, he would bring players, in my opinion anyway. He knows what it looks like. He knows what it looks like, what great football players when they're 18 years old or what they look like when they're 17 years old. He saw Derwin James when he was a sophomore in high school. He saw Dalvin Cook. He saw DeMarcus Walker, Devontae Freeman, on and on and on. The guys at Texas A&M. Did he coach Myles Garrett?
No. He was with us still.
So, but he coached the guy that was just the Bengals just drafted. I mean, he's coached a bunch.
Stewart, I think his name is.
Yeah, he has seen what those dudes look like, and he has an ability to get them on campus. That, to me, is absolute, without a doubt, priority number one. And I've said it. I'm going to keep saying it. If you're going to fire Mike Norvell, do not bring in another guy that you're not sure he can recruit big boys. You're not sure he can recruit 5 stars. I want a guy, if you're going to fire Mike Norvell and give him that kind of money, you go get me the opposite of Mike Norvell, not a carbon copy or somebody that's similar, that has a similar coaching track record from where he's coming from. I want a guy that has recruited dudes that are in the NFL for multiple years. And that's why, again, you give me Franklin or Fisher, and Jimbo tells me he's not going to run the offense, like legitimately, Jimbo, you don't get to touch it. You don't get to touch it. You keep Gus Malzahn. That is part of the contract. You want to coach at a big boy school ever again in the rest of your life? Gus Malzahn is running the offense, and you just get him players, and you don't even talk to him. Don't even wear a headset when they're on offense. I know you're going to want to coach the quarterback. You don't get to. Go get players. And that's why, same with James Franklin. I just want a guy that knows what it looks like, that can go get high-level, special, talented football players. Because you got a lot more margin for error when you got the better players.
Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, located at 2475 Appalachia Parkway, the place to be every day of the week. Daily lunch specials from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Tuesday night, trivia night. Thursday night, bingo night. Friday, live music, usually. Saturday, the Noles are on all the TVs inside the CP. Sunday, all-day happy hour throughout the NFL Sunday. Where else, what else would you want to do with your time than spending it hanging out with awesome people, eating delicious food, sipping on ice-cold drinks at the CP, Corey Clark's favorite bar? At what point are we going to have a plaque at a table? Or do you have a particular table? I feel like you bounce around every now and then. We need to get
the nights that I'm up there, normally there's these 3 tables that it's only one of the 3, but it's this one section right near the bar. There's the set of 3 tables that I'll sit at. Those are the 3 we like to go to.
All right. Well,
so I should have a plaque at one of those. You're right, and I should have a 8x10 glossy of me somewhere that I can sign, like when you go to those old school Italian restaurants. And Frank Sinatra ate there in 1977 and signed something. I should have something like that up there.
I'll take a candid photo of you shaking Bill's hand, so it looks like Bill's like starstruck.
Oh yeah, there you go, perfect.
Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, 2475 Appalachia Parkway. Check out the menu beforehand, cptallybar.com.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Why would you wander around a warehouse store looking for paint when you could just swing by your neighborhood Ace? In addition to Ace's award-winning service, we have top-rated paint brands. Plus, our color matching technology allows us to match any color. So stop wandering and start painting. Head to your neighborhood Ace today.
In Crawfordville, your home convenience store is Ace Home Center and NAPA Auto Parts, located at 2709 Crawfordville Highway.
It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com. warchantbogo, the promo code. Let's get back to the rest of these questions. We got lots to get over, not a lot of time, so go a little bit speed round here, Corey. Our guy Mike _LA 843 really wants to know, and he's posted several times this previous week, so it's really not, we're not going to kick it around too much, but he wants us to find out whether or not they've been tackling. I don't think so, Mike. I don't think they're going to change it. I don't think anybody really is tackling.
I was going to say there's nobody in the country that is, though, so you could lament it, but nobody does it. Kirby Smart talks about how they don't tackle anymore, and that defense is pretty good. They just it's not college football anymore. They don't tackle.
Noel for Life, class of 2007, big-time Norvell fan, but I've lost all my faith in the ability to consistently compete and win at a standard that we expect here. We've already kind of talked about this, Corey. You mentioned in the first segment. His question would be, what guarantees do we have that getting rid of Mike puts us in a better situation? There is no guarantee.
Right.
But, you get to the point where it's financially not feasible to hold on. It makes more sense to get rid of them.
Yeah, and at some point you don't get held hostage. You can't hold yourself hostage because there's no guarantee it might be better. You can't think like that. I just, again, the money does come into play, and I'm only speculating if they have if they finish off decently. Like, that's the decision that if they lose to Stanford and Wake and then in Virginia Tech or any of those and finish 6-6 with those, I mean, I don't think there's even a decision to make, in my opinion. You just have to bite the bullet because you do deserve better than this, and you are Florida State, and there are a lot of really good coaches out there that would crawl to come coach in Tallahassee. That would do better than this. So I think at some point you don't want to hold yourself hostage and just say, well, it's no Nick Saban, so let's stick with this guy. You've got to think bigger than that. It's just that, I know I speak out of both sides of my mouth. That's the beauty of this show. At the same time, you've got to be realistic about what. Again, if you could get somebody lined up that is awesome. If Lane Kiffin was like, yeah, man, I'm coming. I'll come. I'm tired of Mississippi. I'm tired of Oxford. I got to get out of this place. I'm tired of the Grove. If he would then yeah, man, you would definitely take Lane Kiffin over Mike Norvell. I don't know that you take Alex Golish over Mike Norvell, and he might be awesome, but again, you're firing someone to maybe replace him with I don't know, man, somebody just a second coming of the same person. So I was trying to think of what's the word where you have you get replicated. There's two of you.
Doppelganger?
Then there's three of you.
Oh, multiplicity?
Well, that's the movie. I was trying to think of the word that like
cloned.
There you go. His clone. Golly, I'm old, folks. They don't all come to my brain. I can remember the 1983 Florida State LSU game though.
Noel Dad for life. If you could fix one issue for this staff, what would it be? The ability to consistently bring in 5-star talent, or being able to coach up any player to their full potential on a weekly basis?
Well, yeah, I'm to the point now where it's just you got to get better players.
Yeah,
that's where I am. I think I've made that abundantly clear. This is just not. You don't need to be winning with smoke and mirrors. You just need to win with better players. I feel like this offense moves the ball because Gus is good, and it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. I don't think any of those guys, save for Deuce, is probably an NFL player. Maybe Mackay, obviously, but we don't know what he's going to be. But in Boggs, who knows? Cromall. But I'm saying like the older guys. I don't know if any of those guys are NFL players. I think they do it because they have a really gifted offensive coordinator and some talented players, but not great players. I just think you need better players.
C. Powell 17. I don't know if I feel like maybe we mentioned this, but I did not have it scratched off on the list. He's worried about how many years it would set us back if we were to fire Mike Norvell and then lose this recruiting class that we just signed. Sperry, the Twins, Wynn, Boggs, etc. And then having no money for a roster to build or for a coach. Thoughts? I don't know how much of that comes. I don't think that's I don't think Peter Collins and the people that'll make the decision are going to factor that in. I don't think they're looking around like, well, you know what? We can't lose Javen Boggs. That'd be just a bridge too far for any coach to have to come take over and lose that guy.
No, this is not, and I've made this comparison before. People wanted Leonard Hamilton fired because they didn't get into the tournament for like the fourth year in a row, but they had Jonathan Isaac coming. You don't, and if you fire Hamilton, you don't get Jonathan Isaac. They don't have any Jonathan Isaacs on this team or coming down the pike. Now, obviously in basketball, one or two players can make an enormous difference and take you to a NIT team, to an NCAA tournament team. That's not really the case in football unless it's a quarterback. But no, I don't think anybody here has proven their worth enough that you'd be like, well, we can't risk losing this guy. And also, there's no guarantee they would leave. A lot of these folks, a lot of the players stay when their coach leaves. A lot of guys at Alabama stayed when Saban left. I don't know that Norvell's built up such a relationship and rapport with the Desir twins that they would just bounce. In fact, I think they would more bounce with Tony and Terrence Knighton than because of Norvell. But you can also always convince them to stay. Almost always. It's the beauty of modern-day college football.
Corey,
if you want them badly enough, you can keep them.
That is true. You wrote about the offense earlier in the week, so Island Chief's got a relevant question. I want to start by admitting perhaps I've been a big supporter of Mike Norvell since his arrival. His organization, attitude, decency, and offensive scheme seemed, to me, a great fit. That said, is Tommy Castellanos playing plus football? Can he provide the spark to turn this thing around? It's the offense, right? Like the numbers are fantastic. But man, and he's made plays, right? Like the touchdown to Landon before the end of half against Pitt. I mean, listen, Pitt's like, that's a lucky play. If you're a Florida State fan, you're like, that's what he does. Same with his touchdown to force the overtime against Virginia. But like those plays have felt a little bit few and far in between. But I don't know if you were bringing him here to constantly create and generate huge plays with his arms. You've been able to run the ball fairly okay. So, I mean, on the whole, I don't know, but plus that's elite level football. I think if you're talking about somebody who's playing at a plus level, is Tommy playing at a plus level, Corey?
I would say I would put you. You said they're running it okay. They're fifth in the country in rushing offense.
I guess it's the fumbles that hurt, but you're right.
But I mean they're running it great, especially again compared to what they did last year. And Tommy is a huge part of that. So. I don't know how you'd argue otherwise. I think he looked not good in the second half against Pitt. I also think you can't just shrug your shoulders and say, I don't care that you didn't have Deuce or Squirrel or Pittman. It doesn't matter to me. Like, what do you mean? Like, especially Pittman and Deuce, those are his two guys. Those are the two main guys in the offense. When you don't have those, and he can't move, he's not a capable runner anymore, then no, that is not a plus football player. The Tommy that has Deuce and Pittman to throw to and can move is absolutely a plus football player. But without his legs, he's very pedestrian. I will put it that way. But I just again want to stress that his presence on the field and in the run game, even if he's not even pulling the ball and running with it, stresses out a defense so much that it opens up a lot of things. And that I just don't think that can be overstated or undervalued. How much his presence helps the running game. I mean, they were in the ball well against Pitt until the fumble. But again, it's the fumble, right? Like, and I think Pitt was third in the nation in rush defense. Yeah. And I think up until that fumble, Florida State had like 170 yards rushing. They were rushing, even without Tommy being a part of it. So no, I think he is a plus football player. I think they've had through 6 games. Even if you take away the East Texas A&M game and just use the FBS games, they've had one of the better offenses in the country. I don't think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I think Gus uses him well, and he's been a net plus, a net positive, and not a net negative, even though he's made some bad mistakes, but most quarterbacks do.
Gator Kirk, how does the recent football woes affect the ability to go to another conference? I don't think much, if anything, right? This is like real estate, and it's your location and your school zone and your, bones of the house. All that's good. Yeah, the carpet's kind of gross right now. Need to maybe paint some walls, but it's still an attractive property for sure.
Look, man, I would just say, like, let's say that the Big Ten is looking at Florida State. Are they going to be like, ugh, they only went 6-6 last year? Look around your conference. The Michigan State lives at 6-6. That's all they do. You're going to kick them out? But the difference between Michigan State and Florida State is Florida State has people watch their football games. Mm-hmm. And that's all Fox and Big Ten care about. So I don't it would be nice if they would finish this year strong and maybe that Florida game is watched and people care. But yeah, no, I think that when you see Florida State at its zenith, at the peak of its powers, it is unlike any program in the Big Ten, save for Ohio State and Michigan. Like, that's it. Yeah, that's it. I was going to say Oregon, but that's not true. Oregon does get the views that Florida State does consistently, and Oregon's been good for a long time now. So no, Florida State is a very unique entity that even when they're bad, people kind of want to watch, but when they're good, people absolutely want to watch. And they're a brand. They are one of the iconic brands, Aslan, in the United States.
Our guy down in Naples, Mark, he's got 2 questions. One a little bit big picture, one small picture. I'll get right to it, Corey. You can go wherever you'd like. Do you guys see another rebound like 2022 after that 3-game skid? That finish, that season saved Mike's job.
Yeah.
This team has talent, for sure, but the defense especially seems to be lacking trust and know-how in Tony White's system to all of a sudden flip a switch and shut down opposing offenses with a pulse.
Yeah.
Agree, disagree?
Yeah, I agree. I think the biggest difference between those two teams as you look at it, I think this offense is as good as that one. I don't think Tommy's as good as Jordan, but the offense as a whole has more talent, I think, than that one did, and is better. I just think it's a better offense overall with a better coach calling the plays. The defense isn't close to me. Like, I know the 2022 defense struggled at the end against Florida and against Oklahoma. Now, that was also against Anthony Richardson and Dylan Gabriel, so they weren't going up against scrubs. But I think that defense was so much better than this one is. That defense went and essentially shut out Syracuse and Miami in back-to-back games. I don't think it let Georgia Tech score a touchdown until the final seconds of that game. Like, that was a legitimate defense with Jamie Robinson, Jared Verse, Keir Thomas maybe? Or was he Jermaine Johnson? It was Jared Verse, and they had players. That one, Bernardo Green, they had players on that 2022 defense. It
was Peyton, I think. I think
Patrick
Keir
Peyton.
Thomas and Jermaine were just 1 year. I think they were just 21. Yeah,
they were. But yeah, I just think that defense had more talent, was better, and so it could happen. But that 2022 defense had a 22 team had a good offense, a pretty good defense with good players, and then also a schedule that you got to play a bunch of backup quarterbacks. Which you did until you ran into Richardson and Gabriel. Like, Georgia Tech had a backup quarterback. Miami was on a backup quarterback. I think Syracuse's starting quarterback was hurt and barely played or couldn't play effectively. Like, you got some breaks during that 6-game winning streak. You made some too, but you got some breaks. Although I was going to say Klubnik is hurt, apparently. Sprained his ankle. I mean, he'd be back for the Florida State game, but he might not play this weekend. So if you could start catching some breaks like that, maybe you got a chance. Maybe Lagway stubs his toe and is in a wheelchair for the next 6 weeks. Who knows?
Agitated Renegade offers us a bunch of questions to ask at a press conference. Coach, at what point do you hold your defensive coordinator accountable? I think he did a little bit of that. Coach, your team keeps losing the turnover battle. What's being done in practice to correct that? I think they addressed that. Didn't Gus say they're constantly drilling it? Coach, with speculation about your job security and outside noise around the program, how do you plan to block it out, reestablish control, and turn the season around before it's too late? It's all about the work.
That question is a column that I just wrote. It might not be on the website while people are reading this or listening to this, but it will be on the website at some point in the next day.
Ooh, all right.
The outside noise, I can't tell you how much that phrase bothers me. And how much that concept bothers me. And it's not specific to Florida State. But it's almost as if these coaches and these players, when times get tough, turn the fan base into an enemy to be ignored. When the fan base wants you to win more than anybody else, they're the ones that care. And it becomes an adversarial relationship because they say what? Bad things about you when you lose? Grow up. That's what happens. And all of you guys get paid now. So how then do you say, like Gavin Sawchuk saying, you hear all these critiques, but they're not running the football. They're not out here making tackles. Man, miss me with that, Gavin. And I like Gavin. And he and Justin Cryer came in and answered questions. They talked. They answered questions. And they were also asked these questions. They didn't come in complaining about the fan base. They were asked about the fans, and it's just become like a cliche now to call it the noise, the distractions outside these walls. And it's like, man, look at where you get to play. Look at what building you're about to move into. That's because of you look at the commas in your bank account. That's because of these fans. So then don't criticize these fans when they get critical of their effing head coach losing 8 straight conference games. That doesn't mean they're a hater. That means they're a realist. And it was James Franklin used it at Penn State when he was asked after the Northwestern game, do you think the team has been distracted by the outside noise, quote unquote? And he's like, well, look, man, I'd be lying if I said it wasn't it was an issue. I think it was an issue. I'd be lying if I said otherwise. And it's like, well, again, now you're hoisting some blame on the Penn State fans having the gall to expect you to beat winless UCLA in North effing Western. Like, what are we doing here? Does this happen in the NFL? Do they ask Raheem Morris after a Falcons loss, how do you block out all the noise from the Falcons season ticket holders? Is it a specific college thing? because it gets maddening. It's like the reason you're at Florida State is because you get a huge spotlight on you, and you get to play at one of the preeminent programs in the country, and these people care, and if they're passionate about it. Don't then complain about how passionate they are when you lose. You don't get it both ways. Same thing at Penn State. The spotlight's going to stay on, and it gets brighter when it gets darker. So don't be surprised when you start getting critiqued when you lose. When you lose, I mean, that's – again, Sawchuck and Cryer were fine. They weren't a-holes about it. It's just they start repeating these things that their coaches tell them. And I think it's Norvell, too, like block everything out. It's just us in here. Man, enough of that. Because when you say that stuff, like Jimbo used to say, keep your circle tight. Don't worry about anything on the outside. Don't worry about the distractions. Man, I bet y'all were distracted Saturday night after the Alabama game. I bet that outside noise was fun. So you get to enjoy it when it's good, but when it's bad, it's the reason that you guys are distracted and might lose. And you hate it when it's bad, when you're losing, but when you're winning, you love it. It's like, man, pick. And Justin Cryer's brother being smart enough to tell him when they were winning to get off social media makes him one of the smartest people in the world. Because if you can't take it when it's bad, don't go looking for it when it's good. And don't make these FSU fans feel bad because they want more than this. You're passing through. And I'm not talking to just the Florida State players. I'm talking to all the coaches. You guys are passing through. You are collecting paychecks. The people that are listening to this podcast have been Florida State fans long since before you guys got here, before many of you were even born. So don't tell them how to act when their team loses another ACC conference game. Just start winning games, and then let the noise creep back in. But don't. Anyway, I'm done. Sorry, that was a rant that I didn't know I was going on. You guys don't have to read the column anymore. I just basically read it myself.
Mid-season is upon us. You've seen the games. You know the depth charts. Let's go make some winning picks. Let's do it over at Underdog. Underdog Fantasy Sports makes it easy and accessible from your mobile device. Make higher or lower player picks on things like longest reception, total yards, or touchdown scored. Just be sure to pick a player on the opposing team if you want to make two or more picks in the same game. So like if you want to be all about the Noles, you're going to have to throw in something from Stanford if you pick two things on the Florida State side. Hit submit and then root your guys on or implore the other side to suck to hit the lower. Underdog also has one of the more friendly injury insurance policies in the game where they'll void a leg of your pick'em due to injury but not your whole sheet. See what happened to me last week when Deuce went down and Randy Pittman didn't even play. They just took it off the sheet and still paid me out on the winning picks that I had. Download the app today and sign up with promo code WARCHANT to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code WARCHANT. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog, make picks, win money. Underdog Fantasy Sports must be 18 or older, 19 or older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 or older in Colorado for some games, 21 and older in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Welcome back into Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy. warchantbogo, your promo code, buy one, get one free. As we've been doing ever since we got into ACC play. We also did it for the Alabama game because that was a big one as well. We get somebody from the other side to give us some insight into their program as Florida State gets ready for their next matchup. This week, obviously, Stanford. We bring in the voice of the Cardinal, play-by-play guy, Troy Clardy, joining us here on the program. Troy, thanks for joining us from lovely Palo Alto, California. How's life out on the left coast?
Well, we actually got some rain yesterday. A shocker. Rainstorm rolled up. Of course, folks don't really know how to deal with rain around these parts, but it's cleared up now as we speak. Weather should be picture perfect on a Saturday afternoon and well into the evening, Saturday night, under the lights on the farm for what should be a very intriguing game between the Cardinal and the Seminoles.
Yeah, let's get to it. I guess medium-sized picture. I watched part of the end of that San Jose State game where Stanford strung together some really good drives and were able to get a win and probably feel pretty good about themselves going to the bye week. Coming out of the bye, they had a really tough test, having to go to Dallas and take on SMU. And I don't know if the final score was really indicative of what or just how competitive that game was, but it felt like they had generated some momentum going into the bye week off that win against San Jose State. Was it stunted at all against SMU, or do you think there was enough good things to build off of that Stanford will be ready to go on Saturday?
Well, there's no doubt that was certainly a frustrating result and outcome in Dallas over this past weekend. But you know what? It's pretty simple. When you're in must-score mode and you don't score, and then your opponent takes your ability to not score and turns it into touchdowns themselves, that's a pretty good recipe to lose ball game. And that's what happened to Stanford against SMU over the weekend. Had a second quarter drive. They actually took points off the board. A 52-yard field goal would have made it 10-3 in favor of SMU, but a penalty made it 4th and 1. Frank Reich said, hey, send the offense back out there. Went for it, got it, but eventually got stoned on 4th and goal from the 1. And then SMU turned that into an 87-yard touchdown run. And then in the fourth quarter, with SMU only ahead 24-10, Stanford, another marathon drive. They get inside the 10-yard line, and then they throw an interception that gets run back 96 yards for a touchdown. And Frank Reich, during his post-game hit with us, it was pretty clear that he was pretty frustrated and not. He was frustrated with himself because some of the calls that he had made, but he was overall frustrated with how things had gone. 10 penalties certainly didn't help out the cause very much, as Stanford shot itself in the foot way too often. And getting your quarterback sacked 6 times as well, that certainly doesn't help out matters much. So were there some things to build upon? Sure. The defense, didn't let Kevin Jennings run wild, and he is certainly a guy who can really mess you up as a quarterback. That didn't necessarily happen against the Stanford defense, which is shorthanded in some areas. And it was good to see Cole Tabb, Floridian, kind of break out a little bit and have his best game production-wise as a running back. So good to see those things. Good to see Stanford at a 4-play 75-yard drive that takes only 33 seconds off the clock, but still, a result that kind of sticks in this team's craw just a little bit. I'm sure we'll have them fueled and ready to go this upcoming Saturday.
We got to hang out with Simeone Pale over in Charlotte during ACC kickoff. He's one of the best guards in the ACC. I know he's been banged up and he's missed some time here, and I don't know if he'll be ready to go, but this offensive line has had challenges, not unlike what Florida State's kind of have been going through here the last few weeks, Troy, but seemingly at the tackles, you kind of have to like what you've seen from a guy like Nicky Prongos. At center with Fisher Anderson, they're also pretty solid, but otherwise at right tackle with House, that's just kind of been up and down play. What do you think the answer is? Are there answers right now to the depth challenges Stanford's facing on the offensive line, and how are they going about trying to remedy it?
Well, the answers are what they've got right now. You can't go out there and sign a guy off the street. This isn't the NFL, not yet anyway. So Stanford has to roll with who they have. And you're absolutely right with your assessment overall of the offensive line. Nicky Prongos has been terrific. House up and down. Fisher Anderson, who was asked to come in and take over the center spot after Stanford had to make a bit of a change there. And Fisher now has played all 5 spots on the offensive line throughout the course of his career. And he's done well for the most part. What's been troubling has been the guards, and because Nick Fadig, a transfer brought in from Texas Tech, was supposed to hold things down on the left side, but he got hurt against Boston College. Looks like that's going to be a long-term deal. Simi Pale, as you mentioned, was hurt actually during Hawaii, then suffered a separate injury in week 2 at BYU, and he has not been seen since. Might potentially get him back somewhere down the road, but he's not going to be available in all likelihood for this week against Florida State. So that means your interior line was Fisher Anderson, who isn't a true center by trade, but has done well.
And he's
but you also now
that's crazy, Troy.
Exactly
Center. That's nuts.
Tallest guy on the O-line is your center. Where else do you see that? Yeah. So now on the left side, you have Zach Yamauchi, who got hurt during practice last week and did not play, was replaced by Zyron Brown. And on the right side at right guard, you have Emeka Ugorji. Those 2 guys are true freshmen. They were starting on the offensive line for Stanford before they'd even taken a class at Stanford. Cardinal are on the quarter system. Classes began just 2 weeks ago. So look, it's been ups, it's been downs. They've had terrific moments where they've put it all together. Ben Gulbranson did not get sacked at all in the second half against San Jose State. Then He gets sacked 6 times against SMU. So expected growing pains on the offensive line, but when they've been able to put things together, the Stanford offense has looked leaps and bounds better, both in the running game and in the passing game.
Being an outsider, some familiarity with what Gus Malzahn was doing at UCF last year, and Dylan Risk had like a little shining moment where like, Gus Malzahn's found himself a quarterback, but it didn't turn out to be the case, and he transferred to Stanford. And when we asked Simi at kickoff, I'm like, what about him? And he's like, he's been doing pretty good, but we like Ben a lot too. And I'm like, okay, I didn't realize the Oregon State guy was really in the mix. But Ben Branson just, he looks like one of those old-fashioned Oregon State quarterbacks like Derek Anderson, just like a strong arm, tall dude. Accuracy maybe not completely on point, but he has a really strong arm. And just watching the way he plays, you feel like there's something to build off there. What have been maybe his limitations, and what has he shown on the upside for Stanford's offense so far?
Well, quite honestly, the first 2 weeks of the season, he didn't show a whole lot, really. And part of that was that he wasn't getting a whole lot of help from the folks around him. Look, when you're the quarterback, you need other folks around you to be able to do their jobs as well. And he wasn't getting that. He wasn't getting a whole lot of protection from the offensive line, wasn't getting a lot of running game from the running backs, and receivers weren't doing a great job of winning contested balls. That being said, Ben wasn't doing himself many favors by missing some reads and having some stretches where it did not really seem like he was really comfortable out there. That started to change a little bit in the Boston College game, and it's by and large gotten leaps and bounds better since then, culminating with 440 yards passing against San Jose State, the most ever single game passing yards by a Stanford quarterback in a winning performance, and the third most passing yards by a Stanford quarterback ever. And I feel the need to remind some folks that there have been a couple quarterbacks that have taken snaps for Stanford over the years, guys like Elway and Plunkett and Luck and folks like that. So that's a pretty prestigious list to be quite high up on. But, Ben has shown over the last few weeks a lot more comfort and a lot more confidence, has shown much better vision of the field, being able to make the right reads for the most part. And he's gotten a lot better help from his friends, especially wide receiver CJ Williams, who now is back-to-back 100-plus receiving yardage games. That's been terrific. Caden High's made a few big catches as well. And the running game, spotty at times, has been able to play into Stanford's overall preferred wish to play the time of possession game, but also Stanford's been able to show that they can strike pretty quickly in lightning speed. So, it's been night and day for Ben Branson in the passing game from the first 2 weeks of the season up until now. Still looking for a full 60-minute game. We'll see if it happens on Saturday.
You mentioned C.J. Williams. I'm glad you brought him up. This stretch of 100-yard games that he's had. Also, Sam Roush at tight end. He feels like a special football player. Is Williams maybe kind of flirting with that distinction right now for Stanford?
Yeah, he's certainly been and taken over as perhaps the guy in the wide receiver room. But don't sleep on Bryce Farrell, who – this is his 6th year in the program. He's already got 2 Stanford degrees, was persuaded to stick around for a 6th year this season. And finally, he's become the deep threat that some folks had pegged him to be 3 or 4 years ago. He's been terrific and making big plays for the first time, really, quite honestly, in his career. Caden High, a bit more of a yardage after catch guy, but he's shown an ability to get downfield and make big grabs too. And I'm going to be very intrigued to see how the Stanford running backs fare in the passing game as pass catchers. Florida State seemed to have a little bit of a problem covering Pitt's running backs in that game last week. So I'm intrigued to see if that's potentially a matchup that Stanford can potentially exploit. But yeah, CJ Williams overall has really established himself, making contested catches, catches, in traffic, catches along the sideline, chain movers, touchdowns. Williams has really started to put it all together over the past few weeks, and it's been certainly great to see.
And then for running backs, man, as you said, there is, the scouting report is out. Get your running backs in motion, wheel routes, and line them up against Florida State linebackers. Good things probably will happen. But Micah Ford, cold tab. I think I heard you on the Zoom with Coach Reich earlier in the week talking about, these guys have not really been stopped behind the line of scrimmage much, if at any point this season. Just how hard of running backs, how hard of rushers are those two young men?
Well, Ford's certainly the bowling ball full of butcher knives, right? I mean, you don't want to get in front of that dude's path once he gets rolling. If he's even out in space, one-on-one with a linebacker, chances are pretty good that that linebacker is going to lose. San Jose found that out the hard way as Ford took a swing out, bowled over a linebacker, and made it into a 54-yard gain. And Cole Tabb is actually the young man from Florida. He's carried the ball 39 times, I believe, or somewhere around that number so far this season. And he hasn't been tackled for a loss, which is amazing on its face, but it's also even more amazing when you consider, the youth at some critical positions along the offensive line for Stanford. So, Ford, a bit more of the guy who's going to give you those marathon drives that Stanford would prefer to move the ball with. And Cole Tabb, shorter, shifty, quick. When Stanford lines up in the pistol behind and Cole's behind Ben Gulbranson, defenders don't know where Cole Tabb is. And all of a sudden he's got the rock and he's heading up into the second level. So Tabb very quick to the outside. Cedric Irvin usually comes in pass protection, it seems, especially on third downs or so. Tuna Altahir, a physical runner. We haven't seen him the last couple of weeks due to injury. So certainly Stanford has the versatility and the variety in the running back room. And each of those guys have been able to show some important things at different parts of the season.
Last thing on the offense, looking at some of the numbers on PFF, which again, we take it with a fairly decent sized grain of salt around these parts, at least. It looks like Ben Gulbranson has been sacked 20 times. I think on 222 dropbacks, he's been pressured 77. And he was asked specifically about the SMU game, Coach Reich, earlier in the week, but has most of it. Obviously, you mentioned that he's been kind of growing and getting better after those first 2 weeks of being pretty rough. But is it him holding the ball, trying to make plays happen downfield maybe a little bit too much? Or is it some of the more leaky coverage that it seemed like Coach Reich was pointing at?
Yeah, it probably seems a bit more on. And look, I'm not a quarterback, but I know, you don't want to throw the big fellas up front underneath the bus. But that being said, yes, there have been some issues. And I think most of the issues, especially the last couple of weeks, as far as Gulbranson being sacked. I mean, heck, I believe there was one sack against SMU last week where, Ben was on a 5-step drop and SMU's defensive end almost beat him to that fifth step.
It was all play action. Like he did the play action. And as soon as he swiveled his hips, it was just like,
Yeah. He was toast. So look, I mean, again, it's a young offensive line, especially on the interior, and quite honestly, in some instances, it's certainly shown itself. Earlier in the season, there were some moments where it seemed like Ben might have been holding on just a little bit too long. And Ben isn't exactly the most mobile quarterback that you're going to find. So, can he get out? Can he make plays on the run? Yes, he can on design bootlegs and things like that. But, if you have to flush him out and force him to make plays on the run, that might be a check mark in the favor of the opposing defense. But, it was a big key last week. It's going to be a crucial key going forward, obviously. Can Stanford protect Ben Gulbranson? If they can, Stanford is in good shape to do good things. If not, could be a long game.
Defensively, front seven, I guess let's just start up front, but just maybe not getting to the quarterback as much as they want. Looks like 87 pressures on the year. Florida State fans have not been happy with their pass rush. Florida State's been able to pressure quarterbacks 109 times this season. Seems like they get most of their pass rush actually from the guys on the interior. I think the top two pressure makers for them, if you want to call it that, or guys on the interior, like guys like Patterson. So how has that been kind of working out? Is Edge banged up? Is it just the design of the defense that Bobby April's running out there, or how is that all coming together?
Yeah, Edge has been a little bit dinged up. Tafiti missed a game earlier. Ernest Cooper wasn't 100% for San Jose State. Wilfredo Ibar missed a game earlier as well. So health at that position has been a slight issue. But, you also got to keep in mind the quarterbacks that Stanford has faced already this year and the type of schemes that they run. Micah Alejado with Timmy Chang at Hawaii. That's not necessarily a play action fake, 7-step drop, hold the ball and let your receivers run 15, 20 yards downfield and hit them in stride. No, they get the ball out quickly. as does Chandler Morris for Virginia, as does Kevin Jennings for SMU, as does Walker Eget for San Jose State. So, you talk about taking things with a grain of salt. Well, yeah, Stanford obviously would like to get more consistent pressure on quarterbacks, and they have, sacking Kevin Jennings twice against SMU. That's not very easy to do. And they've been able to bring the heat and bring the house and get home when it's been absolutely necessary. And they've done their best work, it seems, in the red zone as well. But you also have to keep in mind, the offensive schemes that they're going up against, where it's just, quarterback catches the shotgun snap and boom, the ball's out already. So do you really want to judge a defense solely on that? I think in some ways that might be a little bit unfair. That being said, hey, getting pressure on the quarterback is always a fantastic thing, and that's something that they'll always be looking to do.
Secondary struggling. I mean, you don't have to nod or anything. I know you're on the payroll. I don't want to get you in trouble here, Troy, but just like looking at the traditional stats for the passing defense for Stanford, they're 132nd in the country, averaging or allowing over 300 yards passing per game. Is there a lot of youth on the back end? Has it just been the design of the games? The flow has just been the passing sort of defense having to bear the brunt of things, or what's kind of been the bugaboo for the pass defense so far for the Cardinal?
Well, two things. One, injuries have not helped at all. Missed Colin Wright, Stanford's best cover corner, for the season opener against Hawaii. That being said, the Stanford secondary by and large hung in there, and Alejado only threw for like 210 yards or something like that day. Certainly numbers that you would not expect from a Timmy Chang coach quarterback. But other injuries at other cornerback spots, nickel, they've had to shift some things around. That has not been Stanford's best friend in the secondary. But again, you also have to look at the teams they're facing. If you're facing, say, Air Force, right? Navy. Your rushing defense numbers are not going to improve by and large because they stick to the ground, right? That's a team that's going to commit to the running game. You're facing, if Stanford's faced a couple of teams in particular in Boston College and San Jose State that cannot run the ball or will not run the ball. Against the Spartans, San Jose State in the first half ran 23 plays. They ran the ball twice, and one of them was a kneel down. So they only had one true rushing attempt in the first. San Jose State refused to run the ball, and Eget threw for 260 yards in the first half. Well, of course that's going to affect your numbers. Of course it's going to affect your numbers when you're facing, Chandler Morris. You guys know what he can do. That's a bad man. So, facing top flight competition and teams that, aren't afraid to run, to throw the ball, and in many cases rely on that as their primary means of moving the ball. Yeah, that's going to skew the numbers just a little bit.
Last question on the way out. I grew up watching a lot of college football, Troy, and, big Niners fan, by the way, big time Niners fan, Troy.
Okay. All right. Well done.
So all about Bill Walsh, Steve Stenstrom, my guy. Been a proud tradition of like excellence at Stanford University when it comes to football. I know things have been a little bit up and down ever since Jim Harbaugh left to the NFL to go coach the Niners. David Shaw had a good run. That did not end, obviously, the way everybody wanted to. What has just been the feeling around the program with an interim coach that has like a definitive expiration date? Andrew Luck being back on the farm, how much that program and that university means to him. Is there a sense that like there really are brighter days for Stanford and on the horizon, like relatively soon, or does it feel like this is going to be no one knows what the future is going to hold just because the sport's been so upside down for the last few years now?
Yeah, I think so. And I truly believe that. And I think that way for a couple of different reasons. One, that it is Andrew Luck running the show. This program means a lot to him, and he's thrown heart and soul into everything, all the different facets of what his job entails. He's been hitting it hard in fundraising. They just had one of the big donors for Stanford, just had a $50 million gift to Stanford football. That finally got announced last week.
Sorry, Trey. And apparently it's not for infrastructure either. It's for talent acquisition.
Yep. That's how it has to go. And I think that also is another indicator of what Stanford as a university is willing to do. And which brings me to the second thing and the second reason why I think brighter days are certainly ahead for Stanford. Now, look, the margin for error for Stanford will always be very thin. It always has been, because let's face it, the system was never meant for schools like Stanford to succeed and have big time success in college football. That was even the case when Stanford was competing for Pac-10, Pac-12 championships and going to Rose Bowls and attracting top flight talent every single year. That was even the case then. Stanford found ways then, and now Stanford will have to try to find ways, not just with Andrew Luck, but also a new university president who came on board last year and hired Andrew Luck into his current role. John Levin, the new president, entering his second year in the big office in Building 10 on campus, actually seems to embrace athletics and what a positive force it can be, and that Stanford can still compete in this landscape in college sports in this day and age where basically it's like the wild, wild west, and still be able to maintain its status as one of the top tier universities on the planet. There is a way to compete. Stanford's still finding its way a little bit, but the folks are in place. I think the vision is in place, and there are things in place in the infrastructure that maybe had not been there until maybe a year or so ago. So certainly I think things are trending. Look, would Stanford love to win more than 3 games in 1 year, especially this one? Yes, you bet. It's not guaranteed, but yeah, I'd certainly love to avoid finishing 3-9 for a 5th consecutive year. Brighter days, however, I think amongst the fans who are excited. It's going to be a small crowd, but it's going to be a very supportive crowd. It has been the last 2 home games. I think everyone, the folks that do show up for Stanford football games, very excited about where this program is potentially headed and who's steering the ship.
Yeah, we got to always give you guys an assist, because in 2013, we were scratching and clawing to make our way up the BCS. And then, Oregon, big bad Oregon, they came down to the farm in 13 and caught it. And then we were able to move up into one of those top 2 spots. So not sure if the crowd's going to be like that. But then again, we're not bringing a great product into Palo Alto. We apologize. We thought we were going to be, maybe 5-1 or something at this point in the season, but no longer ranked. And 7:30 kickoff local time in California, 10:30 on ESPN. Between Florida State and Stanford. First time these 2 programs, great programs, taking on one another. Troy Clardy, the voice of the Cardinal, joining us on Wake Up Warchant. Troy, thanks so much for all the insight, man. I really do appreciate it.
No, you got to appreciate the time. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane, and go Stanford.
Form and function, fit and futuristic. Ditch the old clunky stale wallet for a wallet from Ridge, featuring premium materials for a premium feel. It'll be the last wallet you're ever going to buy, because Ridge comes with a lifetime warranty. Oh, yeah, and free shipping and a 99-day risk-free trial. For a limited time, our listeners get 10% off at Ridge by using code WAKEUP at checkout. Just head to ridge.com and use the code WAKEUP, and you're all set. I like this thing, guys. I've got better lower body mobility. Is it because I haven't been sitting on a wallet for like the last 6 months, or is it because I've been doing a little bit more mobility workout at the gym? I don't know, but it fits right into your front pocket. Piece of cake. And I'm not skinny jean guy. Okay, let's be honest. I know you guys think my fashion styles might be a little too flamboyant, but I don't wear skinny jeans. But I wear slim fit stuff, and it fits perfectly. So if you got the baggy stuff, piece of cake. Front pocket, all good. When you do your check before you leave the house, you won't have to tap the back of your back. You'll just be like, front pocket, I'm good to go. Check out Ridge, ridge.com. Use the promo code WAKEUP to save 10% off your order. We're back. It's Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com, warchantbogo. If you're a Warchant member, you get like 10% off at Garnet and Gold all the time. And I think if you're a Gold member, you get no ads on the On3 experience and 15% off at Garnet and Gold. Or you can just listen to this podcast and enter the over-under contest and win $25 to Garnet and Gold via an e-card. So take it on Stanford, Corey. Where to begin on the over-unders? Floor is yours.
Let's do, how about time of the second half kickoff? Over under 12:22.
Okay. All right. Okay. You and I will be able to actually execute that. We'll be doing the third quarter watch along.
There's a chance I really do want to do it from corner pocket. Like, what am I doing? They're 3-3 and they're playing Stanford. It would be fun to have some ambient noise behind me, see the scene.
Yeah.
And also, I wouldn't be delayed with my streaming that's a minute behind.
Yeah.
I'd be able to watch it live. So I might, because I don't have cable at my new house, so I might actually watch it from corner pocket if Bill can find me a spot at a bar.
Okay.
A seat at a bar.
Yeah, I think it would be a good juxtaposition between me just sitting in my living room by myself.
Right. There we go. Perfect. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. All right, Gavin Sawchuk. What about him? You want to do total yards?
Gavin, love you, by the way. I love you. I wasn't trying to take shots at you, buddy. You just happen to be the ones that talk. You and Justin happen to be the ones that talked this week. Hope you come back next year. Hope you rush for 1,000 yards. How about let's do Danzy.
Okay.
Total touchdowns.
Oh, okay.
0.5.
Oh.
What'd you want me at 3.5?
No,
think it's gonna go
I'm like 1.5. I mean,
it's not
right.
easy to score touchdowns.
Yeah. How about Stanford running back receptions, touchdown receptions?
Touchdown
0.5.
receptions or just receptions?
Touchdown receptions, 0.5?
For a Stanford running back?
Yeah.
I would say, can we just do receptions?
Okay. All right.
They don't score a lot of points. I know they're going against Florida State, so they might, but they don't score a lot of points typically. I just think that's an easy lower.
Okay.
Or under. Sorry.
Underdog,
you're killing. So I would say, how about just running back receptions?
Okay.
5.5?
Okay.
Yeah.
Or a little tackle, Justin Cryer tackles.
There you go. Let's do Justin Cryer tackles.
6.5.
That's too much. Let's do 4.5.
4.5. Okay.
How about combined tackles? AJ Cottrell, Blake Nicholson, James Williams.
The vanilla parlay.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
So AJ Cottrell, Blake Nicholson, James Williams, total tackles.
Yeah. 9.5.
I was going to say 7.5.
Okay, we'll go 8.5. Let's split the difference.
Okay, all right.
So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Really, 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 5. All right, one more. Third down conversion percentage.
How about longest drive for Stanford in plays?
Okay, all right.
11 over under 11.5.
Ooh, okay, that's a big number. That might be a lot of action.
It is, but I think they've had at least 6 drives this year that the teams have had the ball for 12 plays or more.
Okay, good stat. All right, those are your over-unders. Head over to warchant.com's Tribal Council for the link to the form, and then we'll probably tweet it out at some point on Saturday for the rest of the folks out there that are not members of warchant.com. I think it's actually, I should update this. I think it's going to be, it's $25 for our members, $10 if you're not a member, because we have a limited amount of the $25. So we're going to give away those to the people that pay our salaries.
Yep.
Sorry, we're weird like that.
Hey, and let me make a clarification real quick on that heater I was on about 7 minutes ago. It's not as if Cryer and Sawchuk or even Norvell are complaining about the fans. They're not saying, man, these FSU fans are mean to me. I wish they'd shut up. I wish they would just love us and not give us any grief. It's the impression you give, and it's not specific to Florida State. They do it all across the country. Florida players have been doing it for a decade and a half now. When you talk about keeping the outside noise out, well, we all know the outside noise is fans wanting more. Whether it's wanting a new coach, wanting a new quarterback, wanting this or that, they want more. So when you refer to your fans as outside noise, that to me is bothersome. And in the case of Cryer and Sawchuk, because we're the media and we don't know a better way to ask these questions, we're the ones that always refer to it as the outside noise, not them. They're kind of parroting back what we've said or maybe what they've heard their coaches say. Because, you don't want to ask, hey, Justin, man, how do you deal with the fact that you guys kind of suck and your coach has lost 8 straight games? What's the deal? So you have to say, how do you deal with the noise or the expectations of the fans? distractions, blah, blah, blah. It always becomes outside noise. It's always framed like that from the media. So sometimes they're just repeating the question. And in fact, in the column, Sawchuk actually says, like you said, the distractions or the noise or whatever he says. We block out the noise is what he says. But the noise is the fandom. And the fans are the reason you're here. So it seems a little insulting to refer to them when you lose as noise. But that's not a specific Cryer, Sawchuk, Mike Norvell issue. That is an entire college football ecosystem issue where they turn fans into enemies when they stop winning. And it's like, man, the fans are always going to want you to win. And at Florida State, buddy, they're always going to have high expectations.
Amen, brother. We recorded this before the basketball exhibition. Check out warchant.com for a wrap-up of that. Matt Lucero was actually in Birmingham for the game between Alabama and Florida State. I'm sure Jeff Cameron will be talking about it on his radio show from 1 to 4 p.m. They'll be doing a pregame show 9 a.m. on Saturday, he and Tom Lang. Check that out on Warchant TV. Again, watch along throughout the duration of the Florida State-Stanford game that kicks off at 10:30 on ESPN. Tap in, join along, read everything over at warchant.com, including Corey's awesome column. He is Corey Clark, lead writer, senior writer for warchant.com, the ultimate Seminole sports source. I'm just a guy named Aslan, everybody. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant, presented by Vitamin Energy, vitaminenergy.com, warchantbogo, your promo code.